Well, it is about 6 a.m. Sunday morning here in Stockholm, Sweden. This gigantic arena has just emptied out, and I think it's safe to say a lot of them are going home pretty sad. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani, post-fight here at UFC on Fox 14 at the Tele2 Arena, and we're being joined once again by the media darling himself, Luke Barnatt, who did such a great job in our preview show. We had to have him back here to recap everything. Luke, what a interesting night, a bizarre night, somewhat sad evening once again for the Swedish fans. Alexander Gustafsson lose via first-round TKO to Rumble Johnson. You pick Gus. You know him. How shocked are you by that?
I mean, it was completely shocking. I think it was the only way we thought Rumble could take the fight. But like you said, this place cleared out like that. Everyone with tears in their eyes, really, really upset. And I think it's a big, big blow for Gus. And I felt it. You know, I felt it sitting in that front row. I could see it in his heart that it's crushed him. And, you know, I think the thing from a fan's perspective now we have to look forward to is Anthony Rumble Johnson. What a beast he was in that fight. I mean, he just stood in front of Gus, took everything that he had, and just really went through him almost in that fight. And it was incredible to watch.
You know, the last time the UFC held an event of this magnitude, it was UFC 129, 55,000 plus in Toronto, Canada. That was a celebration of Canadian MMA. Tonight, the Swedish fighters go 0-3 once again. What was the mood like in this arena? You were sitting there cage side, as you said, when Gus lost.
Yeah, I think it's 7 fights in a row now the Swedes have lost. I think they're struggling at the moment in the last recent fights, and the environment just. I tell you what, I'll liken it to. When I was in the Ultimate Fighter, my experience when Uriah Hall did that spinning kick and knocked out Adam Sella, and it just went. You didn't want to say a word, you know, because it was scary, and it felt just like that, but with 30,000 people in stands. So it was such an effect, and my heart sank, and I was. You could tell. I think you tell I'm a bit depleted and I was upset by it, but the fans here are so good. The European fans are great across the whole of Europe, and the Swedish fans are so educated and know what they're going on about. And for the Swedes to come here and lose 3 fights, go 0-3 tonight. It's so depressing for the guys.
You know, the fight was relatively short, but were you surprised by anything Alexander did before getting knocked out?
I mean, he didn't seem that comfortable. He's been saying in the post-press that he felt great, leading up to the fight was great. He just got caught, you know, it happens. But to me, he just didn't seem the normal, confident, didn't move the same sort of way. I was here before when he fought Thiago Silva, and it was a similar opponent in front of him, a very powerful, heavy-hitting guy, and he just seemed to have a bit more flair, a bit more movement. And tonight, he seemed a little bit shaky. I think it was a lot of pressure on him, on his shoulders. 30,000 Swedes, you know, the lead Viking coming in here. Tough night, and I think I could see that and sense that in him. He says he felt fine, but it didn't look great to me at the beginning.
You think this now hurts the market? Like they can't come back here for a while after what happened in October and now tonight?
Not at all. I think there's so much talent in Sweden and guys that we don't even know yet coming through. I train in Sweden a lot with a lot of unknown guys, and they're beasts here, technical monsters, and we have all the places around here. Like we had the Mr. Finland come through tonight, and he is such a character in the post press, getting laughs, gets 50 grand, he's going to buy his mum a bed. I mean, amazing. And I think there's loads of guys that are coming through here, Norway, Finland, all the neighbouring countries. So I think there's still definitely a market for Sweden. It's the biggest place in Scandinavia for mixed martial arts, and I think it's going to continue to be.
How did you feel about the stoppage? Did you think that the referee, Mark Goddard, let it go on a little too long?
Definitely not. No. I didn't feel that way at all. I thought it was perfect refereeing. I think Alex was surviving, and I hate, you know, as a fighter and as a big fight fan, a stoppage that's too early is not what you want to see. You want to give it everything, every last inch you've got, and I think Alex did that, and then it was a very, very good stoppage.
What kind of a chance do you give Rumble Johnson against John Jones?
I mean, when was the last time John Jones knocked someone out like that? He doesn't have that sheer power. Awesome striker, very, very creative, great wrestler, but he doesn't have that intimidation, that fear, and he gets hit, you know. And Rumble, I think Alex is a harder fight for Rumble than I think John Jones is, like stylistically, because of I think he can catch Jones a bit better. Yes, he has a little bit more reach, but it doesn't make a difference when you just stand in front of him and walk through him like a tank. I think it's going to be a dangerous fight, similar to the Alexander Gustafsson fight. First 2 rounds, super dangerous for Jones. If he can survive those, I think we'll see another fantastic performance from him.
A lot of people saying they want to see Gustafsson fight Daniel Cormier next. What do you think?
I think that's a big fight. I think it's going to be interesting to see how DC reacts to the loss that he's just had, because it was a big loss, and Alex has just had a big loss. So they're both going to be fighting for their lives and their reputations and everything. So it's an awesome fight, that, and I hope they do it over here in Europe again. I think Alex is such a big key name out here. To me, he's the biggest besides Conor now, and we need those guys to fight in Europe. I don't want him to go over to the States and do it. DC, he was here. He was here as well. So I think he'd like to fight in Europe, and it'd be great for us.
How did you feel about the co-main event stoppage? Gegard Mousasi defeating Dan Henderson in around 70 or so seconds. Somewhat controversial. Dan didn't like it. What do you think?
I think, again, as a fighter and a fight fan, I don't think it should have been stopped early. I don't think it would have made a difference to the outcome. I think it would have been about 10 seconds later or 5 seconds later. But Dan wasn't done. And he's been in such amazing wars, like with Shogun, and come back and got dropped and come back. I think he's been dropped 15 odd times, and he's a warrior. It's Dan Henderson. The Swedes wanted to see the legend of Dan. I was cage side, wanted to see something happen. And it just was a bit depleting and upsetting. And I think they should have given him a little bit more time. He has been through it all. He's not afraid. He doesn't want the fights to be stopped like that. And I think Gegard, he'll take the win, and he's very happy that he said he didn't want to hurt Dan after that. He saw that he was finished, and he's probably right. So, that's good for him as well.
Do you want to see Dan Henderson fight again?
If he fights a Shogun or if he fights another legend and it's a big fight, I don't think he should be fighting contenders like Gegard Mousasi on the way up, young, hungry guys who have got all the tricks. I'd like to see him in more legend-like fights, and there's a few of them around.
On our preview show, we talked about Ryan Bader not getting over the hump, always being in that sort of gatekeeper status. It wasn't the most exciting fight. It wasn't the most thrilling fight, but he got the win he has been looking for. Were you impressed at all?
I think, obviously, I'm very close to Phil, train with the guy a lot, and I think the fight, in my opinion, was the other way around. And I wouldn't have said I was impressed with Ryan. I wouldn't say I was impressed with Phil. It was one of those fights that they both kind of didn't know where they were at, and I think if you look at the points scored, it depends how you're looking at this judging. Like, me talking about judging is a silly thing to say, because you never want to leave it in their hands. But I think Phil was more active. I think he was landing more shots. I just think Ryan was stepping forward. That's all he did different. But he didn't really go for anything. You didn't see him commit to any punches. He didn't try any takedowns. He didn't really try anything. And to walk around and throw a few shots and avoid a few shots and to win, it's not winning a fight. I don't think he went after it. So yes, he got the win that he needs. But I didn't see a performance that we need to see. It wasn't deserved from both guys. I think Phil, to really make himself up there and look at fighting John Jones and those sort of things that he wants to do, we needed a key performance that he looked fantastic. And I think Ryan was the perfect guy to do it against. So, that fight, there was no winners in that fight for me. It was, even though Ryan got the win, I felt like he lost, and I felt like they both did damage to themselves.
All right, before we let you go, some good performances on the undercard. Anyone that really stood out that you want to mention?
The most impressive guy to me was Tumanov. He fought against Nico Misaki, who is, in my opinion, a fantastic welterweight, fantastic fighter. We saw him lose against Kelvin Gastelum, and it felt the same to me. He was dominating the first round. He looked like he had all the tricks. He was in control, and then he let it slide in the second and the third, and Tumanov took over. And to be down around and come back, it takes persistence, it takes heart, it takes talent, and I think he's a dangerous man, and he's going to be feared by quite a lot of welterweights.
Great job, my friend. What a pleasure it has been doing this with you. You did great, perhaps better than I thought.
Well, we make a good team, and I'm just saying, but I'm in Las Vegas next week if you need a hand.
Wow, look at this guy already calling a shot for next week. Of course, next week is Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. I'll consider it. All right, fair enough.
Well, we'll talk.
We'll talk, especially to his agent. That guy is a ball buster, my friends. For now, we say good night, or maybe good morning from Stockholm, Sweden. What a memorable night here at the Tele2 Arena. A lot of the fans going home unhappy, but some pretty big things happen. And of course, the biggest one of them all, Anthony Rumble Johnson will now meet John Jones for the UFC light heavyweight title later on this year. Thank you so much for watching our coverage all week long from Stockholm. We'll be with you next week in Las Vegas for the big UFC 183 fight between Anderson Silva and Nick Diaz. And also on Monday, we are back for a new episode of the MMA Hour. We have a lot to discuss, my friends, so we'll see you then. For Luke, I'm Ariel. Thank you so much. Good night from Stockholm. We'll see you on Monday.